hi everybody. This is Jenny Glad, and you are listening to the Happy Work Life Project podcast. And this is the show for people who love personal and professional growth and want to learn to make the most out of their precious life. So you will discover practical habits and productivity hacks, work-life skills, time and stress relief methods, so that you can find balance, purpose, and presence and direction in your own life to harmonize your work and personal life and find joy in both. And today I'm talking about burnout, 12 stages of burnout, what happens in every stage. So you can recognize if you're there or if you have been there, so you can recognize where you are at the moment and what you should do, or what can you do to prevent that progressing. I'm also talking about what happens before the burnout starts, before those 12 stages take over, slowly but surely. It's always very invisible process, and we can never really recognize, okay, this is the moment when the burnout started. On my own journey, when I experienced burnout, I think it was like 14 years ago, when I was still in the corporate world, I had my big burnout experience when I really dropped on that couch after a fancy work trip to Paris. And I knew that I was exhausted. I was afraid I'm going to fall down from that tightrope, and I fell. And I want to share my own story, but also I know this is a relatable story for many people who are experiencing, they cannot manage their workload, they cannot manage their life load, and there's too much going on. So you feel that it's too busy that you can even breathe. And I want to show you the methods, the approaches, and especially what to do if you find yourself being there or getting closer to the exhaustion. And I will talk about everything, what is there to know about exhaustion and burnout patterns, and share my own journey and how actually my burnout led me here to start this career as a clarity coach and mentor. So thank you for joining me today. So when I experienced the burnout like over a decade ago, I still remember clearly how it felt. I have these pictures in my head that I see myself being in that apartment, living there. And what had happened before is like I separated from a long-term relationship. I was going through reduction that I left on my own terms because I found a job. And the work has been quite exhausting already for years because there were these reductions all the time going on. It was very uncertain. There were no security how it would continue. But it was not only that. I felt that I was really working really, really hard, like a good girl. And I'm a hard worker. I love working. When I put myself out there and start working on something, like with this podcast, I really love to do a good job. And I really love what I do. So I dive in there. And that is something that I need to be cautious about in myself. And this is what I have learned along the years when I have done self-work, getting to know myself much, much better. And the burnout 14 years ago actually helped me to start this journey. And I remember after the recovery, I didn't take sick leave, and I'm later going to explain why. I just kept going because I knew and understood that I needed to do long-term changes. I was not happy with the work that I was doing. I felt bored to do this very same every day. I felt like my life doesn't have the meaning. I felt like my life is not meaningful. I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to do. I felt like I was supposed to do something different for work, but that I didn't know what it is. Or actually, I had an idea. I wanted to become a coach. I wanted to study NLP. I wanted to become a mentor because I always had people coming to me looking for my advice and wanting to connect with me. And I felt that that was really natural for me, but I didn't know how to make it my work or business and how to use my creativity. And I really already then, because I didn't change my career after the burnout, I didn't leave corporate right after. It took like 3 years, almost 4 years after I made the changes. But I started listening to myself, and I realized with that experience that if I lose my well-being, if I lose my sanity, I don't have anything else. And that was a really, really big lesson for me then. And it took a while to find my way, how to make the changes, how to heal my nervous system, how to learn emotional regulation skills, and especially how to set the boundaries and how to express them to the others. Because I had a tendency to overwork, I had a tendency to say yes, and I just kept going and I tried to finish all the work that there was, and I was always disappointed when I didn't get there. But already earlier Fridays, I felt like my heart was palpitating. It was bouncing really fast. I felt like I'm exhausted physically because of the work that I had done. But also exercised a lot. I forced myself to the gym like 4 times a week. And of course, it gave me energy. I felt physically good, but very stiff. I was not flexible. I didn't know how to breathe. That's what I know now. I didn't know how to stop, how to be present. And these are the reasons why I started losing the connection with myself. And that exactly led to a burnout. And the separation from a long-term relationship, but also changing the job, was at the same time was creating this unsafety. I was totally starting a new phase of life, like relationships and friendships, and also work and a professional career. And I remember that I thought that, okay, now I have all the time because nobody needs me at home. I have all the time to work. I'm going to put all in for my career and work because I felt like I somehow had kept myself or held myself back in the relationships. And I think many people can recognize this pattern when you meet a new partner, neglect your work, your business. Just recently, I was talking with a friend who said, I neglected my business because I was so much in love. And these are the patterns that are actually causing exhaustion and leading to burnout. But I was there. I didn't know what to do. I got really scared when I dropped on the couch and started crying. And I was afraid that it's not going to stop ever. And my fear at that time was that I'm going to be alone, home forever. There will be nobody who knows what I'm experiencing, that I'm going to be isolated at home. I was afraid that depression is going to take over. And yeah, I was going through that alone. And I had tried to seek help because I had been sick all the time. I had needed to take like a couple of days of sick leave because there's congestion, sinus infections, lung, chest infections, all kind of infections all the time. Those were already signs, but I always stayed at home for a couple of days thinking that I'm getting better while I was working in the bed. And this was like the new job because I was like, of course I need to show up. But I didn't realize that it was the second stage of burnout already that time. And how that ending of that long-term relationship affected me. It was like going through a divorce without going through a divorce, which is another thing that I've been going through, but I'm not talking about that in this podcast, maybe another one. But I didn't have the emotional skills. I shut down. I pushed away all the negative emotions. And as the relationship had not been that good for quite some time, for a couple of years or even more, I had always known that it's not going to be my last relationship. And I still stayed. So there's one thing, one red flag. But I didn't know what to do. I was in pain, hurting. I pushed all of those emotions away. And I thought, now I'm finally free. I was able to end it. I was able to move out. I was able to continue my life. I had a new job, new career, exciting opportunities. I had a new friendship or circle of friendships, and I was going out a lot, celebrating. And I thought, I'm super happy. I honestly felt super happy, but I didn't have the clarity. I couldn't self-observe. And as I started getting help, as I felt so congested and there were physical issues like high blood pressure, on top of these regular repeating illnesses, but I didn't get the help. Not from the doctors. I told them how I feel. I couldn't sleep anymore. I slept less and less. I felt more anxious day by day. Used a lot of alcohol. I was smoking, going out, and I couldn't stop myself. It felt like I was numbing, and I knew that I'm in the middle of this cycle, that somebody just need to stop that. And I hope that somebody comes and saves me, but nobody came. So I went to see this work psychologist, and she kind of thought that I need to change and I need new friends. The other one said that I need to, just find a new partner and be aware of my biological clock. And I didn't know what to do. And I was 33 that time. But I kept going until I dropped. But I got up. So this is the good news. I got up and I learned the ways, and it was very intuitive, the journey that I healed myself and learned the ways and my values and who I was again, because I had got lost. I didn't know who I was behind that cacophony, behind that curtain in my mind. I felt like I can't access and connect with myself anymore. And yeah, that's my story. I'm going to share a little bit more later. So I work with people who have experienced burnout earlier, and quite often it's a wake-up call for them because they know how it feels and they have recovered, and together we find more interesting, meaningful career, job or professional growth or business idea or business growth. So changing the direction, sometimes it's like more personal changes, but it's always about working with underlying emotional behavioral patterns, because they are the ones that drive us and lead us, the autopilot. And until we shine light to that part of ourselves, we keep repeating the same patterns. I also work with people who are there in the midst of the burnout and need the energy, need to restructure, need to bring in self-care habits, need to find like how to get back in balance. And after we have done that, we can see like what was really causing, what were the lifestyle decisions and what are the lifestyle desires that they know what they want really. What's common in all of these stories, my story, these two client stories, is that people don't know where they're going. They have lost track of their future vision, what kind of a lifestyle they want to create or enjoy, how to find that famous work-life balance, but also joy in it. And I'm all about everyday joy, finding joy in every day, because every day and all that matters. Okay, let's keep going. So what are the causes of burnout? The causes of burnout can be work-related. It's quite often excessive workload. I cannot manage it. Lack of control. I can't control. There's more work coming. It's never ending, like in my story. Unclear job expectations. And this is related to not that good leadership, because quite often if there is no clear job expectations, what are being expected, people just create their own expectations, and they are not often those that the employer or the boss have. High pressure or toxic work environment, it's quite clear when the toxic work environment is an unhealthy work environment, it's affecting to everybody's mental and emotional health. And quite often there's a lack of communication in there, lack of recognition in terms of money, in terms of praise, in terms of positive feedback. And of course, people need different kind of a feedback to feel important, feel valued, feel seen, feel engaged. Burnout can be caused by monotonous, unchallenging work. And this is what I see as a problem when people are in the end of their work cycle in that job, or the level of job that they are in, and they have much more potential and they need more challenges, more interesting tasks, projects, roles. And if this is not seen, or if the person is not hearing herself or himself and somehow is holding themselves back from applying other jobs or creating different career paths, it can lead to burnout. And quite often it's led by belief, I cannot change my environment. I just have to do what I'm doing because I have studied this. This is how life works. This is how this country is. This is how in my environment is. There is no that kind of a role or job that I want. There is nothing that I am a good fit for there. So personal and lifestyle causes can be creating burnout. Imbalance between work and personal life. Of course, if there's a lot happening at home and there's a lot of like no rest, all to-dos all the time, a lot of chores and no fun and no enjoying and no pleasure and no breaks, it will lead to burnout. And there's too much congestion, chaos, and distractions going on in life. Lack of social support is like a so important part that we don't even realize. This is especially for people who are living abroad, like myself. I've been living in 5 countries, and this has been one of the biggest issues that I have needed to pay attention, because social support, connection, friendships, meeting people, especially when we are working remotely a lot. Everybody experienced this in the COVID, but it's so important that we put attention to this on a regular basis and meet friends, see people, have social events and engage with other people, the parents quite often forgets this and they don't pay enough attention to their social needs or think that they cannot leave, they cannot go out. And it's not true, because we can change. There's always a way if we want something and need something. Perfectionism is one of the biggest causes for burnout. High levels of responsibility, for example, getting a new role, bigger role, a new role, more responsibility, can lead to the situation that there's so much work and you're so excited about it that you don't have proper boundaries. And that leads to poor self-care habits and skills. In general, when we are talking about burnout with people who have burned out themselves, it's really about the idea that we need to take care of ourselves more than it needs to be more than exercise. We need to pay more attention to those emotional skills and maintaining emotional mental balance. And exercise only cannot do that. We need to do more than exercise to maintain real balance and feel good about ourselves. Personality traits are one of the causes of burnout. Personal traits are like type A personality, people-pleasing tendencies, meaning no boundaries, always saying yes, 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 I can do that, I'm happy to do that, and never saying no. Pessimism, yeah, definitely. The negative outlook of life and everything. Expecting the worst happening all the time, that is keeping already the energy vibration low. Low self-esteem, imposter feelings, perfectionism. Perfectionists can recognize themselves going to the burnout more often. Organizational and cultural factors like toxic work environment, yes, that's something that I already mentioned. Inadequate compensation, feeling that you are not at the same level with others, you're not paid well, you work a lot, you didn't get the raise that was promised to you. You don't see how you can actually develop in your career in that company that you're working for. We all need to have like a future plan so we know that where we're heading, because we need to move and flow in life. Cultural expectations, and this is coming from early ages when we are born and we start sucking in everything. How we should be, what is possible for us, how we get successful, what needs to be achieved in life, how we become happy. And this is one of the reasons why most people burn out. Chronic stress, persistent external stressors. Of course, when we're feeling stressed all the time, when there's a lot of pressure at work or at home in our personal lives, it's really, really difficult to perform and stay balanced, maintain work-life balance. Emotional exhaustion related to that, of course, stresses such as financial issues, health problems, relationship difficulties, emotional unhealed patterns, emotional issues and behavioral patterns that are causing chronic stress. And yeah, so there's a lot of causes to burnout. And I hope this is helpful for you already, because now I'm starting to talk about 12 stages of burnout and what's happening in those 12 stages. So the stage 1 is the compulsion to prove oneself. As I said, like in my journey, of course, when I started a new job, I felt that I need to prove myself. I need to show up that I'm good enough. I was hired to make some changes in the company. Eventually that happened. But I didn't know how to set the boundaries, as I was not connected with my emotions, and I just did what I thought that I should do. And of course, my relationship with work was not healthy. Working habits were not healthy. Nobody taught me that ever. And we're not taught like how to maintain healthy relationship with work and working. But quite often when there's ambitious drive, are pushing ourselves to achieve, this is driven by self-doubt. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. I'm not sure if I do enough. I'm not sure if I'm worthy enough. I have to push myself to do more to get that external validation to succeed. And in this stage, this is the first stage, the compulsion to prove oneself. In this stage, you may be driven to prove your worth. And you're often taking too many tasks or sacrificing personal time for career advancement to be really good, yeah? And this is the first stage. If you're here, start setting boundaries, be prioritize your working hours, stop doing work when you are tired in the evenings. Maybe it's a good idea to stop overworking. And if you think that it's not possible, it's completely possible. Like one of my clients said, like, I do what I want to do. Actually, nobody else is asking me to do that. And this is the way that we start changing their working culture. Stage 2 is working harder. This is where the workaholism takes over if you have a tendency, patterns, increased effort and work hours. At this point, somebody's workload may become unmanageable and there's a lot going on, and this person feels compelled to continue working despite fatigue, physical, mental, emotional exhaustion. I need to push through. And even total mental or physical collapse might be happening here, but they just push through because we are super strong. Our bodies are quite amazing what it can do, but not forever. Or, I'm always saying, like, if there's a project or something, you need to be sure that it's ending. You need to see that, okay, I'm going to work more this week, but next week I need to take time off. I will need to compensate. I need to relax. And it's the best thing to do is to do this every day, to maintain balance, to take breaks, to rest, to spend time with friends, family, loved ones. And quite often stage 2 is related to guilt, because if you're taking time off or engaging in leisure activities, you experience guilt and you feel like, oh, I should be working. And I can recognize this myself a lot as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And as I drove myself to adrenaline exhaustion a lot, like on my early years of entrepreneurship, I needed to learn these hard ways to stop working. I spent 3 days inside when I lived in New York. I spent 3 days inside of the house and I didn't leave because I was working. But I didn't get much done. It was a lot of procrastination, lack of clarity. I was not sure where I was going. I was not what I was doing, lack of expectations, intentions, and goals, all that. I will talk about that in other podcast episodes. Okay, and stage 3, neglecting personal needs. Sleep, diet, exercise, and relationships start suffering here on this stage. People may become so obsessed with work that they don't have time for their own needs or own health. This is when the voice in your head is saying, like, I don't have time to eat. I don't have time to exercise. I just need to keep going. It's a good idea to think about what are you going to sacrifice. When a person can only focus on work and is not spending time on other non-work related activities, they are definitely exhibiting one of the key stages of burnout. This is one of the stage 3 is one of the key stages of burnout. So it's important to make time for yourself and prioritize self-care every day. Starting from now, if you're not there, if you think like, I can skip the self-care practices today, do not. Bring it back, make time for it. And this is where we need to push ourselves a little bit more, because the mind gets so obsessed when there's unconscious patterns that are in the driver's seat. They want you to work, to accomplish and achieve, to skip self-care. But it's exactly the opposite. You need to push yourself more to take time for yourself. Your meditations, your journaling, your daily walks outside. 20 minutes at least is a great way to go to the gym and to maintain your health and well-being. Okay, let's move on. So stage 4, 12 stages of burnout. Stage 4, displacement of conflicts. Problems are externalized. Personal life suffers. At this stage, people will become more irritable and display signs of stress and anxious behavior, blaming others for asking things from themselves, being so-called needy, looking for attention when the loved ones want to spend time with you. That feels like so irritating. Why do you bother me? Let me do these things. And burnout process involves a gradual process of becoming increasingly intolerant of others, even beginning to feel threatened by others. It could be also at work. I remember when I became so irritable at work because the people were discussing and I was like, I don't have time to chat. I don't have time to talk. I don't have time to sit there and have coffee. Yeah, that's where I was. I was like really anxious and angry. Of course, I felt like I am the only one who can take in responsibility, who can do these things. There was too much on my table and I didn't get the proper support from work. But I didn't have proper support at home either because I didn't have anybody to talk to. And really talking about the real things, what was going on. So at this stage, people start to become more irritable, show and display signs of stress. It's difficult for them to recognize that their conflicts with others actually stem from stress at work, or stress at home. I'm not talking only about stress at work and work-related burnout. Burnout is very valid and similar if you are, it can come from home. It can lead from home life to work life as well. Stage 5, revision of values. While having a career that makes you happy and gives you pride is important, it's also so essential to be mindful of your values and beliefs. The 4th stage of burnout is re-evaluating these values and beliefs to see if they still fit with your current career path. Quite often when we get so busy and so stressed out, we forget why we're doing what we're doing, where we're heading. Is this who we really are? And this is quite often when people come to me and say, like, I don't feel myself anymore. I don't feel like my life looks like who I really am. I lost myself. This is typical when we're losing ourselves, when we're graduating, starting a career, building it up, having a family, getting married and doing that. And then 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, we don't know who we are anymore. This is normal, and you can always start again. Related to burnout, at this stage, people might start questioning their purpose, the direction of their family, friends, and other areas of their life. They might then start questioning how these values coincide with work. In essence, work becomes their life, or it's already become their life. So if you need to check in with your values, you need to remember that you need to put the family first, that on the back burner, not to focus on work, because family is good for you and you are good for the family, right? You want to be good. Making career decisions that are aligned with your personal values and beliefs. And this is where people, when they choose a new job, make the contract, they need to ask, is this really me? Do I really want this? Is it related? Does it feel like me? Do I want to work with this company? Do I want to work with these people? It's so important, and we neglect these red flags quite often. You need to focus on long-term effects rather than short-term gains. It's important to evaluate your values. Make sure they still fit with your life and career. Taking time to reflect can help you stay on track. Make sure your work aligns with your values. So important. So revise your values if you feel like you are stage 5. Stage 6 is denial of emerging problems. It's like minimizing, ignoring signs of stress and anxiety. In this stage, you become more aggressive, intolerant, hostile, and you don't want anybody to say to you, like, if they see something in you. You push them away. Stage 7 is withdrawal. Social withdrawal, reduced activities. People might begin to withdraw from friends and family in an effort to escape stress from work. You need to work instead. It's hard to stop working. Social interactions play a key role in maintaining emotional and mental wellness, as I said earlier. This is so important. And because without these interactions, you are more likely to feel isolated and depressed. In my case, a lot was happening. I didn't have my old colleagues anymore who were friends. We had completely new friends because of the separation. So I went out and created new friends to go out with, so that I was burning the candle from the both ends. I was living in a new home by myself. I was super isolated, yeah. And it also is, of course, all this is leading to a higher risk of alcohol and substance abuse. Numbing mechanisms, somehow needing to relax, looking for relaxation because the mind can't relax anymore. Behavioral changes can be visible for the others. And quite often stage 8 is like people who are at the stage 8, they cannot see their behaviors anymore. For me, it was like my friend who hadn't seen me for a while. I went to visit them in London and she saw the changes in me, but she didn't say that to me, but said that to our other friends. And nobody really dared to put their brakes on me and really confront me. They're like, what's going on? You feel weird. Because I felt I'm not there anymore. Behavioral changes can be extremely alarming. Insomnia. I was going through like insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I was afraid to go to bed because I was afraid to wake up in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep. I was so tired already that I was not tired anymore. depression, anxiety, and withdrawal from social activities, connecting with people, especially with people who care of you. And of course, when you're exhausted, you can't have hobbies, you cannot go to gym, you cannot go for walks, you cannot do the things that you enjoy of. And as I said, I felt I'm there, but I'm not really there anymore. Stage 9 is depersonalization, feeling disconnected, numb, or detached. And substance abuse, alcohol abuse, any kind of it could be social media scrolling, it could be shopping, it could be watching TV or working all the time when you are not working. Doing something to distract yourself from facing where you are and not realizing where you are anymore. So the last stages of burnout, it can be blurry. What is what's happening? Like stage 10, inner emptiness, you don't feel any emotions anymore or purpose in life. And stage 11, life doesn't feel meaningful anymore, more likely hopelessness, and you feel alone, isolated. And the burnout syndrome, it can look like different for everybody, of course. And I think people can go through burnout for a long period of time without realizing that they are having burnout syndromes. And one reason for that is that it's so accepted, and the success culture has been defining burnout and busyness as a sign of success, and busyness means that things are going well. I still hear that when I say to people that this week is full, I have time in 2 weeks or so, they say like, that's a good sign. And it doesn't mean that it's like my busyness is controlled busyness. And I have learned that I don't have to do everything right now. I don't have to make time for. And this happens quite often in the corporate world, but as entrepreneurs and business owners, it can be harder to manage your time, say no to prospect clients, for example, and say like, okay, I can meet you in 4 weeks. And they say like, but I need this right now. We all need everything right now. This is the world that we're living right now. Instant gratification and all that, right? But the complete mental and physical collapse can be related to burnout syndrome. And at this point, like when the stage 12 is on, the person is likely to experience physical exhaustion, mental confusion, emotional numbness, and it's common for all individuals in this stage to develop various physical illnesses. May they be like colds or infections, heart problems, migraines, anything at all. But as I said when I started the recording or this podcast, I said like I didn't go for a long sick leave, and one of the reasons for that is that I had already had so many obstacles before I reached the stage 12. And I had been sick continuously, taking a couple of days off from work. I had been struggling with my health all the time. And there was so much shame, guilt related to that I didn't tell anybody at work about my condition because I felt like I've already caused so many problems. I had broke my elbow, and it was really like a part of the mental breakdown for me that time because it needed to be operated. I needed a sick leave of 2 months, and this happened 4 months before my kind of a final burnout stage. I think it was going on for a longer period of time already, but yeah, I was not able to. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to reach out. Now it's been a while, over a decade ago, so it's like things have changed. We have coaches and we understand burnout much more. There's better support at work, depending on the country where you are. And, healthcare system understand burnout much, much more. And there's more help and it's more common, so we are able to ask for help much more. So what I started doing on my burnout healing journey is that I realized the problem is not being solved in 2 months' time. I understood that I lacked emotional skills. It was very intuitive because I hadn't studied mindfulness. I had done yoga for quite some time. I didn't have personal meditation practice by that time. And I had stopped journaling, which is like something important for me since the second grade, to explore my thoughts. And it's a very therapeutic way to get to know yourself and to release emotions, and part of the emotional regulation practice that I recommend for people who are open to journaling. Anyway, so I didn't have any of those in place anymore. So what I pretty much started doing is that I stopped working at 5 o'clock. And I was like, the work day is ending. I did the bare minimum. Yeah, it was kind of a quiet quitting, but I didn't quit. I just took time for myself to recover and get better. And it was my health. It was the main priority. And I took care of my job. And then I went home and I spent time alone. And for a while, it took a while until my mind started to calm down in the silence. I started listening to music, which is very good for your brain and the hormones that it's helping you to feel good. I started listening to jazz and just lying down. I started reading magazines, doing the things that I had done earlier in my life, but I have forgotten. I started going out to cafes alone, read a book, and it was really, really helpful because I didn't have to change my whole routine, my whole life. That felt super scary at that time, that I would take more sick leave. What should I do? I didn't know. And then I started meditating and practicing being present. And I got Eckhart Tolle's book. It actually found me in the bookstore, The Power of Now. And I read that book like for a year. I'm a slow reader, but also when the book is meaningful for me, when it's important, I read it like every word and I ponder and think, and how can I relate and what can I do? And it was an important book because I was going through this transformation and reconnecting with myself, with my authentic self, really. And after the separation, I felt like I'm coming back to who I am. Really, the burnout, the cacophony was calming down. I stopped drinking and I started taking care of myself, going out more. And part of the reason was like I had a lot of hobbies as well, but it was like doing because I was avoiding to be alone, unconsciously avoiding the isolation and still feeling isolated. So those were like a very first things that I started doing, and I started listening and my body much more. It was all the right things to do. And my physical health got better. Everything started feeling a lot better. I started finding more joy because I was doing the things that were important to me, things that were good for me. I didn't self-betray anymore. And I started making changes with changing my social circles, obviously not going out that much. And really, it was quite amazing to notice and feel that I got back in control. I took back control, just sitting at the beach and staring out there. It's so healing. And also later, and as I didn't know how to change professionally, of course, this was like, I want to change professionally, but it was not time for that yet. But I started connecting with myself, with my dreams. What did I want from life? And getting more in touch with that. But later, when I became a business owner, entrepreneur, and a coach, I teased burnout and adrenaline exhaustion often. Like I said, like there were days like I didn't go out at all in 3 days because I was so consumed by work and working. And I realized that my working habits had stayed the same since the corporate, but I could not do business and be a business owner and a coach and work with people and work in the same way without any breaks, without having proper habits, without planning my days, without planning my business, without having any kind of a strategies in place. And I'm not talking about business strategies here. I'm talking about my well-being strategies, productivity and all that. I procrastinated a lot. I just believed that my luck would be enough, but it's not enough. It was not enough. So my working habits had been the same, and I had been the busy A-type person, even though I've never felt like that because I didn't accomplish all those credits and everything. But that sent to me to learn a lot about high performance habits, maintaining energy, using my mental powers in the right way, getting things done, getting to know myself. And I even designed a planner, and my clarity method started from there, because I started seeing like other people are struggling with the similar problems. So it was a learning curve for me to get out from there, and learning curve for me to set the boundaries. And it's been like a improving stage by stage, but during my life, because then the motherhood happened, and then that taught me so much and all that. Now as a solo parent, the story has been even gotten to different, because the time is my greatest asset, and I need to make the time that I have really productive and the best, and use, but also not to force myself and push myself, but work with who I am, with my busy brain and creativity and all that. And of course, working with people, I'm grateful for all of my clients that I've been able to work with and support, because I've learned so much from them as well, and see the similar patterns happening all over the world, with clients from different continents and different cultures struggling with similar things. So we're not that different from each other, even though we have grown up in different cultures. We too have very unique life experiences. We too have very unique past and what we have learned, but the patterns are similar. It's very interesting. So fascinating, isn't it? And this is what I wanted to share with you today, and from the breakdown to recovery. So remember, to summarize, remember the burnout is not the end. The recovery is possible. The goal is to get back in balance and become aware when you start teasing burnout. Become aware when you start slipping your habits, when you start changing those thought patterns. And in my blog last week that is related to this podcast, I'm going to post a link there. Learn to recognize this pre-burnout phase and these thought patterns and behaviors when your behaviors start changing. Because your life is changing, the demands are changing, what you want to do is changing. And I want you to believe that even though if you have experienced burnout or exhaustion patterns and you've been recovering and healing yourself from those, quite often I see people, they're not putting themselves back there anymore. They have fears because they are unconsciously afraid they're going to experience that again. And I know how that feels. I have recognized that in myself. But when you learn to trust yourself, when you learn to recognize the thought patterns, the emotions, the behavioral changes, that you're not going to bed early, that you start working and stealing time from your sleep, when you just push yourself through the exhaustion and push yourself to get things done and keep going, and it's late, and thinking everybody's so busy and exhausted, thinking that it's normal to be exhausted and busy and burnout, it's not normal. We should not normalize that. Our health, our well-being, it's the source of, it's our lives. It's really important. And how much you appreciate yourself, because quite often when I work with people, they don't give themselves permission to feel good. Yeah, there's this pattern that people don't know how feeling good feels anymore. That if life is too happy and too content and too stable, which doesn't mean that you wouldn't do big things and exciting things and passionate things and fulfill your potential. They don't believe that it would be possible without exhausting yourself. So I want you to check in your beliefs and your relationship with work. And what do you think about it? It's going to give you so much information when you check in with your thought patterns and beliefs. What do you believe success requires? And what does success mean to you in a very practical way? Where you are right now, what are you trying to accomplish? What is your next step? What is your career path, professional path? What are your goals with your business? And where are you now? And how does it feel? If you don't have energy, nothing gets done. You won't get there. And you're going to regret because you feel like it was your fault. It's not your fault. Change your relationship with work. Change your working habits. Change and develop self-care practice where you maintain emotional, mental well-being, where you can hear your thoughts and you recognize your feelings and help yourself regulate yourself. And your body, mind, heart stays aligned. Other thought patterns related to pre-burnout phase. I have so many things going on, I just have to keep going and doing it all. I'll start waking up earlier and I skip my self-care routines. I can, meditation doesn't do anything for me anymore. Or I can skip my mindfulness practice or journaling practice or my planning thing. I just keep going now. Set boundaries for yourself. You need to limit yourself. Ask people close to you, tell you when they see changes in you, and be grateful for them to be there to remind you if this is difficult for you. Hardcore workouts your body won't respond well to hardcore workout when you are tired, when you have been struggling with self-destructive habits, self-sabotaging habits, when you haven't done well for you, you've been working a lot or not sleeping enough. Hardcore workout is no. It's a good idea to get some more energy, but it's not healthy for your body. It doesn't take away the tension, exhaustion, or fogginess. You will feel even more stiff. Stretching, time in nature, walks, hiking is a great idea. Stretching is a fantastic way to relax and sleep well, by the way. There will be a podcast about sleep and sleep habits and sleep hygiene and everything related to that. Late night drink, TV show binging. If you have been working late or if you have a late night and you think like maybe a drink or maybe a social media scroll would be helpful, or binging your favorite TV show would help you to relax. Yes, it can feel like that, but it can be hard to stop. You know, when you get yourself going with that phone, doom scroll. Yeah, I think we all know that. But it also affecting the quality of your sleep and how you sleep, how you wake up. If you see that everything irritates you, you have so many things going on and you think that you're the only one who can do that. And that irritation and grumpiness. Or you start skipping lunches or dinners or healthy eating. No time for breaks. I don't have time for anything. I just need to work. I just need to keep doing. I can't even sit on the couch or outside, have a cup of coffee. Also, too much drinking coffee is not good. Okay, so learn to recognize the pre-burnout phase and then take action to change, because it's easy to change those habits, and go back to good habits. And then we avoid the burnout stages starting. And ask for help, accountability, talking things through with someone who can really soundboard where you are and you see what's going on with your work life is absolutely helpful. So always start with acknowledging the problem, taking a break, taking a little bit of distance, and it doesn't mean like a long sick leave. Everybody's afraid of that nowadays. Then organize yourself, organize your priorities, manage stress, and create a support system. So important. And start implementing new habits, routines, and practices for well-being. And those old habits. Remember what you did when you really had fun in life, when you felt happy. What were those things? It's like recovering from any kind of addiction that I feel like burnout is a little bit like addiction. It's kind of a similar effect in it. And when you come out of that, you have to figure out a new way to live. That is your way to live. That looks and feels like you. So clear your schedule, throw your phone to another room, take walks, baths to calm down the body and the mind. Prioritize sleep and rest with your life, really. Set boundaries at work, home, and express them with others. Talk to people and tell them what you're going through. And reconnect with your personal values, your future plans, and clarify what kind of a life and work you want. Absolutely, it's possible for you to change and get clear and heal the roots and patterns what led to burnout or exhaustion. Your story will go back to your past when you learned how to achieve success. What is the way to live happy life? Who told you that? Maybe it's from school, family, culture. This is the way to do it. It's not working anymore. Those are the old ways. Your working habits. You need to check in like your working habits, what needs to change, learning habits, self-image, emotional needs, all that. Because all this is still driving you unconsciously if you haven't done the work yet. And through self-awareness and growth, you can change this and make long-term changes and safely get the next job or fulfill your potential or go to the next level in your career. And create structure, a daily structure, a weekly structure for your self-care routines add your exercise in your schedule, those walks, meeting friends, mindfulness, sleep habits, journaling. What do you like to do? What do you know it's good for you? To maintain balance, to prioritize emotional, mental, and physical well-being, all connected. Okay, thank you for listening for today. This is Happy Work-Life Project podcast, and I'm really happy to have you here. If you want to subscribe the Happy Work-Life Project publication on Substack, or become a paid subscriber, because we have a community over there, and every month I'm answering to the questions for subscribers only. Podcast recording, you can comment every episode there, have discussions, and you get access to all content in there. And you want more, I have a wonderful workbook. It's free workbook where I'll give you like all kind of methods for stress release, stress management, a holistic guide to feel less stressed. And I put the link to the episode notes, and I would love to hear from you. If you are interested to work with me, and I work with organizations, I work with people one-on-one, I can help you personally if you are experiencing burnout or coming out of burnout and not sure what you want from your work life. I can definitely help you with that. And I talk about these things at the organizations, for teams, everything about burnout prevention and stress management and time management and productivity habits and emotional intelligence and all that. That's my alley and passion of work. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm happy to be here. My name is Jenny Glad, and I would love to hear you in the next episode. Bye for now.